Hello everyone, welcome back to Seed and Spiral Homestead. My name is Kelsey if you are new here. As you can see, we are back in the pantry. I wanted to give you all a little bit of an update on how the pantry challenge has been going for us for the month of January. So I only committed to the month of January because I just didn't know how it was going to go. But what I've realized is this is just how we eat on a normal basis. I did allow myself a small budget of $30 a week to purchase our dairy products because we don't produce any here, as well as fruit. So besides those things, I'm realizing what I was spending money on at the grocery store was either impulse buys because I was most likely hungry, or things to continually add to keep the pantry stocked. Like, we weren't actively eating from them, but it was what I was purchasing to make sure that, you know, there was a rotation of goods and we always had extras. So that's what I'm realizing I actually spend my money on at the grocery store. And we could just continually eat like this for quite a long time with that small budget for dairy and for fresh fruit. So I just wanted to share with you what I've actually been gravitating towards and some things that I'm still avoiding that I'm realizing I am probably never going to preserve in this way again. Now, I haven't been sharing what we've been eating meal-wise because two reasons. Number one, it takes a lot of time to set up a camera and film everything I am doing. I'm not someone that will just set up the camera and show you everything from one angle. I like to do multiple angles, show you things close up, and it becomes a lot of work. And this month has been kind of crazy for me, so I apologize, but there were no meals documented the last few weeks. Another reason for that is, honestly, I've been making super simple things. Nothing extravagant, nothing really even that creative. I've just been trying to use things up, so it's been a lot of just meat, veggie, maybe a bread product, maybe some fruit in there as well. So you didn't really miss anything, but I do have some more food content coming. I'd like to do some big freezer meal days, as well as some meal in a jar type convenience canned goods, as well as just some more baking what we eat in a week when I feel like it's worth sharing. So look forward to that stuff. But let me take you in here and let me show you what we've actually been pulling from. Okay, so what I have done is I have left the spaces empty. I haven't pulled all of my canned goods forward, so you can kind of see how much we have used of each item. So let's start here. Okay, first lovely shelf is all of our tomato products. I used 3 quarts of tomato sauce, 1 pint tomato soup. I didn't use any of my pizza sauce or any of my salsa, although isn't it beautiful? There's so many pretty colors in there. I used all different colors of tomatoes. I did use 3 of the half-pint jars of salsa verde, which I'm super proud of myself for because we don't love that. And I used 1 can of barbecue sauce. Something I've realized over the years, while we do eat tomato products, we don't eat a whole lot of them, just not very frequently. Tomato-based meals or recipes just aren't something that we love frequently. We do like them from time to time. What I have preserved here I think is a good amount for our family of 4. Typically I do about 40 quarts of tomato sauce each season. And then I've got between like 10 and 12 jars of these other things, and I think that's totally fine. I might not do tomato soup again next year, at least not as much. I think I would rather focus my efforts on other types of soup that we really enjoy. So, like I said before, I'll continue to say it, just grow and preserve what your family actually eats. I'm super proud of this one. I used all of my pint jars of canned carrots. Now I still have 10. I have 10 jars, 10 quart jars of canned carrots to use yet, but I did use 6 pint jars, so go me. But if you've watched my previous videos, we don't love canned carrots. I think they have a funky flavor. So I don't think that I am going to preserve carrots in this way again. I think I'm either going to freeze them, freeze dry them, or one of my big goals this year is to figure out some sort of root crop storage, some sort of cold storage. We don't have a root cellar. We heat our home with a coal stove, and the entire home, any place you'd think it'd be cold, is not. It is stifling in here sometimes. I'm very thankful for that. It's always warm and cozy. But root veggies do not store well for me here. So I need to figure out some sort of alternative method to storing those things. If you have any ideas, drop them below in the comments for me. I'd really appreciate it. So that is a goal of mine this year. Figure out how to store root veggies to make them last. Now, I used 2 jars of green beans. I think I will continue to can green beans. We just don't eat a whole lot of them, and I think I'm only going to do pint jars from now on. Our family is not huge. A pint jar is plenty for us for a meal. So I did use 4 cans of corn. I think I'm going to do more next year. I think I had 10 and I'm down to 4. So I'm thinking of doing at least 20 jars of that next year. We used 1 can of pickles and I gave a can away. The thing is, this stuff is going on 2 years old, so it needs to be used up. So if I do want any pickles in my pantry next season, I will need to can some more. You know, these things, they're probably just fine, but I like using things up within 2 years. So I'm gonna need to do at least a few cans of pickles. I used 1, 2, 3 jars of either just my plain pressure canned beets or my pickled beets. On this shelf here, I've got all of my pepper products. I did use 1 can of sauerkraut. Like I said, I don't typically can sauerkraut. It gets rid of all of the good stuff in it when you can it, but I had a surplus, so I'm just trying to use this up as I can. We did try one of the jars of pickled okra, and it's okay, but I don't need to can it again, so I'm not going to. And then we used 1 can of the sweet pickled peppers. That's kind of like your sub-style peppers, and we did enjoy those. I will continue to do those. We just don't need a whole lot of them. The Italian marinated peppers we do enjoy. Like I said, just not a whole lot of them. So I'm going to continue to can these things. I'm just going to dial it back a little bit and not devote a lot of my time to preserving peppers. I used 1 jar of the banana pepper rings. We used those like on pizza, cheesesteaks, salads, that sort of stuff. This is the cowboy candy right here. I had these stacked too high, and we've gone through 2 of the big ones and I think 6 of these small ones, and we love it. It is so good. However, this batch is super spicy, and I didn't even have my peppers planted next to any other of my really hot peppers. I don't know what happened, but we have to eat it in moderation. We just can't handle how spicy it is. So I think this year what I'm going to do is half jalapeno peppers. You can get those seeds from Baker Creek. It tastes like a jalapeno without the heat. So I'm gonna do half jalapenos and half jalapeno peppers and see if we like that spice level better. But I used 2 of the jars of the cowboy candy marinade on a pot roast and some chicken, and that's great. I will continue to do that as well. Onto the shelf here, this is mainly fruits, jams, and jellies. I used 1 of my quarts of cherries and juice, 2 of my quarts of cherry pie filling. I used 2 of my pints of the strawberries in syrup. Those are really good. We like those on yogurt with granola or mixed into a baked oatmeal. Really yummy. I did not use any strawberry lemonade concentrate. I used 1 jar of the mock pineapple. It was good. We liked it in a baked good. I think it's kind of strange on its own, like it tastes like a pineapple, but the texture is mushier. Oh, I don't like it unless it's mixed into something. It's a great way to use up extra zucchini if you have it, but I don't think I'm gonna go out of my way to can it. I don't need it in my pantry. I'm gonna bring you up close here because I'm really proud of myself for how many of these jams and jellies I used. I made a pretty good dent. I still have a ways to go, but I'm happy with what I've used so far. So I used 2 of the apple butter. I used 2 of strawberry chamomile. I used 1 of the maple strawberry smooch. I did not use any of the mock honey. I used 1 each of the strawberry rhubarb, raspberry lemonade, and peach butter. And I used 1 of the cranberry and peach conserve. I didn't use any of the zucchini jam yet or my grape jelly. So I've got some work to do there yet, but the ways we've been using them in oatmeal bars, in baked oatmeal, just on toast or English muffins. I've also swirled them into baked goods. So I'm making my way through them. I'm hopeful that by next canning season I'll only have a few left. Now I'm probably going to continue to can jams and jellies, just not this many. I love trying new recipes, so that's kind of what has happened here. I'd see something that would look good and I'm just like, oh, I need to try it. And that just, you know, one thing led to another and I have a lot of them. So I just need to, you know, pull in the reins a bit and practice some self-control and not make every single recipe that I come across. But we will always have jams and jellies in the pantry. Down on this bottom shelf I had my canned potatoes, which I have used only 2 of, which I'm kind of surprised. I did have some fresh potatoes upstairs that needed to be used. They're starting to get soft, so that's where I've been focusing my potato efforts. I did use 2 quarts of the canned peaches. I'm definitely going to do more of those. And I used 1 quart of apple pie filling and 1 quart of the canned apples in juice. And then we used 6 pints of applesauce, which I am pleased with. I had, I think, 28 jars, and I'm thinking that's a good number that we can work throughout the course of a year, so that's probably what I'm going to aim for as well. Behind me, though, I had some canned meat. I just had some beef and some venison, and I used 3 quarts combined there, and I definitely want to do more meat things, but that's all the stuff that I actually used. I did use a good amount of the flour that I had stored up, which I am super excited about because it really needed to be cycled through, and some sugar and a whole bunch of oats I've been using pretty regularly. So overall, I am pleased with how much I have used these last 4 weeks. It's really given me a good idea of where I need to focus my efforts, what I should stock up on more of, and I want to share with you all now what my goals are for the coming year, what I'm growing, how much of it, and what my preservation goals are. So I'm bringing you all outside for a quick moment. I need to grab some more containers for starting seeds, and they're in the greenhouse, but I wanted to show you our chicken tractor and tell you what our plans are this year for meat birds. Don't mind my very vocal cat in the background, but this is the little chicken tractor we used last year, and it really only fits about 8 birds comfortably, and we have much bigger goals this year. Last year was our first time doing it, so we started small, but we have a goal this year to do 50 meat birds on our property. So we need to make a much bigger chicken tractor, so that is one of our first goals, one of the first big projects we need to do, because we're going to be ordering our birds very soon. This rooster's obnoxious. So if you haven't seen some of my older videos where I've given tours of our property, we're on a 1/4 acre. We are in zone 6B. We're in south central Pennsylvania. And on our 1/4 acre, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in-ground beds, and I have to count. We have 20 raised beds, and I'm going to be adding to the raised beds at different areas of our property where there's just space that could be used. So that is the area and the amount of space I have to work with. I'm going to go back inside and I'm going to show you my whole garden plan. All right, just a quick overview of my space. I like to put it on paper. I'm a visual person, so it's just easier to figure out, you know, where I want to put things, how much space I have. So my first bed here, all the in-ground beds are about 30 by 30 feet. So I'm gonna devote an entire one just to potatoes, and I'm gonna try at least some of this area Ruth Stout. I don't want to do too much with a new method just in case it doesn't turn out well, but that's what that one's for. This one is just going to be a whole bunch of things. Some lettuce, determinate tomatoes. I have my strawberries, at least some of them in there, and I've got my raspberries in there as well. Over here towards the deck is just some perennial stuff. But then in this space, I've got everything is somewhat planned out. Some of it I did companion style, but I'm really trying to mix it up this year, not have too many of the same things together, just to try and fight pests. Maybe they won't devour everything if it's all separated, but just to give you an idea of what I'm doing. There you go. All right, so we're gonna talk all of the homestead goals while I fill pots with dirt. I'm behind on my seed starting. Like I said, it's been a hectic couple of weeks, so I'm just gonna work on this, multitask the best I can. So anyways, my canning goals. Number one is to do a whole bunch of meal in a jar, convenience types foods, things that I can easily pull from. I am gonna aim for at least one of those meals a week, especially with growing season and preservation coming up. You know, those are really long days and sometimes I don't feel like cooking. So something as simple that I can just open up and heat. So I definitely want to do a whole bunch of those, as well as some ready-made meats. So a variety of venison and beef, chicken, as well as some like ready prepared things like taco meat, maybe like sloppy joe mix, that sort of stuff. Again, just for convenience and quick meals. Another big thing would be fruit. That's something that my pantry is lacking in, is fruit choices. I'm thinking I'd like to do at least 200 jars and a variety of different fruit. And then also some different types of sauces and marinades. If I have all of these meats ready to go, it'd be nice, you know, if I just want to do a quick sub or a sandwich, to have some sort of sauce to throw in them, or like a stir fry. I'm just going for convenience and variety. Other things for the pantry, I want to focus more on using my freeze dryer. I am very thankful for it. It is a blessing to have. I need to utilize it more. I need to get into the habit of, you know, if I'm cooking dinner, make a double batch and freeze dry the other half. Again, for convenience and just for emergency purposes, I'd really like to utilize that more for meals and for fruit and veggies, especially if I start to get, you know, overwhelmed with the amount of produce that is filling my counters during growing season. It's really nice to just throw them into the freeze dryer and let it do the work for me. Another pantry slash kitchen goal is to start milling my own flour, so storing wheat berries. They last a lot longer than already, you know, milled flour. I'm not sure when that's gonna start happening, because that is, at least the mills I've been looking at, have all been quite the investment. If you do mill your own flour, let me know what you would recommend for a mill. I was looking at either a Nutri-Mill or a Mock Mill, but if you have any other suggestions, let me know. I also want to learn how to make my own cheese. That's something that I have not tried yet. We have a few sources for raw milk locally. We do consume it on the daily, but I would like to learn how to make my own cheese, at least some of it. It's just another skill I want to get under my belt. And then another kitchen goal would be to start doing like freezer meal days, so that I also have some convenience meals to pull that way as well. So other than that, it's really just my garden goals. I have a goal to grow all of the potatoes we need for an entire year to last us through until the next time we can harvest potatoes. I grew 150 pounds last year, and that is still going strong, but I know it's not going to be enough until I'm able to harvest the potatoes I'm planting this spring. So I'm thinking at least 200, if not 250 pounds is my goal. And then I would also like to grow at least 75 pounds of sweet potatoes. So that's gonna take up a lot of the space in my garden. I also wanna devote quite a few beds to strawberries. My kids love strawberries. I'd like to grow at least 50 to 75 pounds of strawberries for different methods of preservation, as well as raspberries. I would like to grow at least 50 pounds of them, and I think that's doable with the amount of plants that I have. We do have some blueberry bushes here, but we just planted them last year. They are 4 years old, so they are mature, but they're still getting established here. I'm not sure how much of a harvest we will get off of them this year, but I do have a few local places that I can buy some from. So there's definitely going to be a sourcing of fruits locally that I'm going to preserve. There's no way I could grow all of our own fruit here on this 1/4 acre. So I'm just doing what I can. I know strawberries and raspberries grow really well here, and I have the space for them. So that's where I'm focusing my efforts, and then I will just have to go and support local for everything else. Another thing I need to figure out this winter is storage for root veggies. I would like to grow enough of those for us for the year. I don't want to have to buy them. But right now I don't have a way to store them other than preserving them, and I'd really like some, you know, to keep some for fresh eating. Like I said before, we have coal heat, and it is hot everywhere in our house. And anywhere I could put them outside, it's not temperature regulated, and things definitely go below freezing, so that's not gonna really work either. So I gotta figure that out because I want to keep some for fresh eating. I also don't want to buy any greens, so no spinach, no kale, no salad greens, nothing like that. I have a greenhouse. I can definitely sow them throughout the winter. I could sow them in my basement, under the grow lights. It's just become a convenience thing, and I don't need to do that. I don't need to depend on a grocery store to provide our greens. So that's something I want to commit to doing, is having a steady supply of greens throughout the year. And then the last crop that I really want to amp up would be celery. I use it a lot in soups and broths and, you know, all sorts of different meals. I want to make sure that I have enough for the year. So I'm going to be devoting a lot of my space in my garden to celery as well. Most of it's probably going to be freeze-dried, and maybe some in the freezer too. But other than that, I mean, I'm growing a whole bunch of other things, but that's what I'm really focusing on this year. Those are things I know that I can grow well, that do well here. I just have to figure out how to store some things. If you'd like to stick around to the end of the video, I will share all of the varieties I'm growing and how much of each variety I think I have figured out. I know not everyone really cares about that too much, so I will leave that to the end of the video. And if you want to watch, please do, and if not, you can click away. The only other goals that I have, we want to do the 50 meat birds, and I would also like to construct a rabbit hutch and start keeping rabbits for meat as well as for fertilizer. They have a cold manure, so it doesn't need to be composted. You can just throw it right into the garden to give it its nutrients. It's not like all the other manures that have to be composted for a certain amount of time. So that is something I'm really interested in doing. I have been scouring a Facebook marketplace trying to find a hutch already made, but we may have to put that on our project list as well. Now I have shared my goals, so I want to know what your goals are. Whatever they may be, they don't have to have anything to do with homesteading or gardening or pantry, kitchen, any of that stuff. Whatever you're pushing yourself towards this year, drop it down in the comments. I think sometimes just putting it into words and putting it out there for people to see can help, you know, get you to hold yourself a bit more accountable. We can encourage and support each other, so go ahead and drop those goals in the comments. But other than that, let's go check out all of the varieties I'm growing this year. Just in case it's helpful, I am going to include on the screen how many plants of each variety. I am growing for our family of 4. It's my husband and myself and our 2 small children. We have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and we are growing on a 1/4 acre. So obviously my family's needs and wants for preservation and fresh eating are gonna be different from yours. So it's not like an exact science. This is what I have just found is sufficient for us over my years of gardening, and hopefully it just gives you a little bit of insight. I'm gonna start with tomatoes. So I have like 3 categories that I choose for tomatoes. Be my paste tomatoes, my slicers, and then cherries. So for my paste tomatoes, I am growing pink oxheart, San Marzano, Roma, Korean long, Hungarian heart, and Amish paste. So these are what I'm gonna devote to things like sauces. These don't have as much of like the gel, the water content. They're more fleshy, so you get more out of them. So that is my paste tomatoes. For my cherry tomatoes, what I'm growing cherry tomatoes for this year is mainly for salads, and then I want to like quarter these, freeze dry them, and use them as my diced tomatoes. So I've got a Chadwick cherry. It's like your typical cherry tomato you could find at the store. This is the red centiflor. It is a pretty rare variety. Each of the trusses, like the arms on the plant, they can have like 100+ little tomatoes on them, and they're very good. And it's a showstopper. It's really cool to see how many tomatoes are on each one of those trusses. And then I just have a white cherry tomato. They're a little bit less acidic, less bite to them. So those are my cherry tomatoes. All right, slicer tomatoes. I tend to go for the yellows and the oranges. I like that less acidic, less, tomato bite. I just think they're really sweet and they're absolutely delicious. So that's what, that's like the majority of what I grow for slicers. But I also have some black varieties. They're like the really dark red with the purple shoulders. They have a little bit more of a smoky undertone, so I like that. I do have some regular red slicers in here to share. My mom really likes just the plain old red slicers. Those are her favorite. But I also have some in here that are kind of funky, different colors and things. When you're a content creator, I like color things that are gonna photograph well and that are just interesting to look at. So I've got a whole variety here. The first one I have is black from Tula. I have grown these before, I like them. This one's new, it's Aunt Ruby's green. I just thought those looked interesting. This one is the green zebra. This one is one of my favorites, Dr. Witchy's, or however you say that, but that's how I say it, and they are my favorite. I also really love the Amana orange. These old German tomatoes get massive. I had a 3-pound tomato from this pack of seeds. They're all like 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds, but I had a 3-pound tomato and it was nuts. These I thought looked neat. What did it say? Powers a tomato. Persimmon. And then the good old Abe Lincoln. This is just like a beefsteak type tomato. Pineapple, these are really beautiful. They're mainly like a yellowy orange, but they have like this red webbing in them. Really neat tomatoes to cut open. And then your typical beefsteak. And my friend Heather gave me these. It's just a white, what does it say? White tomasol? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I thought it would be interesting. She said she tried them and I think they weren't tomatoey enough for her, and I like when things aren't super tomatoey, so I'm gonna try them. So those are my slicers. And then my friend Heather gave me that white tomato. We had a little bit of a seed swap the other day. So she gave me some other varieties to try. I don't have any pictures, but I have blue cream berry, yeah, tomato. I think they're a cherry tomato. These are also, I think, a cherry. It's black strawberry, and then a black beauty. So it's a super dark slicing tomato. So those I just thought would be fun to try. Moving on to peppers. I will always have cayenne peppers in my garden. They have great medicinal properties, so that's always a staple for me. We love sweet banana peppers. We will always have them. Ajvarski is my most favorite pepper. I think they just have a richer, deeper flavor than like your average bell pepper would. They're fantastic roasted, so I will always be growing them. And then I have some jalapenos, which is a jalapeno without the heat. These are from Baker Creek. And then I have some jalapenos. So that's all I'm growing for peppers this year. All right, beets. Golden beets are my absolute favorite. They are divine. If you don't like beets, try golden beets. I don't know, there's something about them. They're I think they're sweeter. They're great roasted, they're great pickled. So I will always have golden beets, and they're beautiful. Like, they are the most vibrant, gorgeous color of yellow. And then I've got some Chayoga? I don't know if that's how you say that, but a really pretty striped beet. And then your typical Detroit dark red beet. All right, next I have carrots. I have a whole bunch of different colors here. Again, I just like the way they look. I haven't really noticed a difference in flavor or size. The only one that is sometimes hit or miss for me are the black nebula carrots. And I found that they can get woody really fast, as well as they get super hairy. It's like a strange look. See if I can find a picture, I'll put it on the screen. So I have black nebula carrots, scarlet nantes, I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I say it. Chantenay red core, atomic red, and then I just have your good old Danvers. I have a purple carrot. Don't ask me how to say this one, but it had really good reviews, and I thought it looked pretty, so I'm growing that one. Corral. And then I just have a rainbow carrot blend I'm gonna put in the kids' garden box. We're gonna do an entire bed devoted to just things for the kids to tend to and harvest. My daughter is 5.5 and she's super excited about that. I know my little guy will love it too, so we're doing that. Next, I am growing just one type of parsnips. I've grown these before. They work great for me, so I didn't feel a need to try a different variety. So we're growing some of them as well. The type of celery I'm growing is Utah Tall. It works great for me here, so I'm gonna be growing a whole bunch of celery as well. I decided I'm not growing any zucchini this year. I think it takes up too much space. I end up with a surplus of it and I don't know how to use it up. We're not a huge fan of it, you know, other than occasionally in a stir fry or a baked good. And around here, like, you can still get a zucchini for like 50 cents. So for as much as we eat them, I'd rather devote the growing space to something else. However, I am going to try this new variety my friend Heather also pointed out to me. It's called zucchini rampicante? Rampicante? I don't know how to say that, I probably butchered it. But these you can either eat as a summer squash, like a zucchini, or you can let them cure on the vine and use them as a winter squash, and they'll store for a while. So I thought that was really nifty. So I don't know if anyone else does this, but if you're growing zucchini, a lot of times they get away from you and you end up with like this massive baby zucchini. So I thought this was a neat idea to try and grow these. That way if I miss a few, they'll be fine. They can cure and I can store them for winter use. Next up, I've got my peas. These are ones that I have all grown before. They do well for me here and we like how they taste. So I've got Laxton's Progress 9. These are a bit more of a dwarf variety. They only grow, it says 20 inches high, so you don't really need trellising for those. This blue shelling pea, they're just really pretty. They have beautiful flowers. The only part that's purple is the shell, so don't think that you're gonna get purple peas, you won't. So I've got those, and then I've just got a sugar snap pea as well. Those are my peas. Here are my greens. I'm just growing a rainbow mix of Swiss chard. Bloomsdale long-standing spinach. This one can tolerate the heat a bit more so it won't bolt as easily. I also have just American spinach. These are just smaller, more uniform looking leaves. And then I've got two varieties of kale. This is my go-to, blue Scotch curled. It's really good. And this one's just beautiful. It's the scarlet kale. And I have a few different varieties of lettuce. This is a slow bolt lettuce, so it's more heat tolerant. I'm interested to see how that is going to do. It's my first time growing it. I got some endive. This is a salad mix blend that we really enjoy from Baker Creek. Butter Crunch. And then, I had to grow some just because they were pretty. So I've got this Lola Rosa. This is Merlot. Cimarron. And then I have some Radicchio. I'm going to try growing cabbage again this year. I've had terrible luck with them. We don't really have much of a spring here. It's a very short spring and things, just get hot really fast. It seems to happen overnight and then it's just too hot for these colder weather-loving crops. If they don't work out for me again this spring, summer, then I'm gonna try to do a fall sowing of them and see how they work later on in the year. And I also have a lot of issues with cabbage worms. So I'm gonna try and doing a row cover this year. Hopefully that does away with at least some of the worms, but I decided to try the Danish ball head. This is good for storage as well. A red acre cabbage. And I do like Brussels sprouts, although none of the rest of my family does, but I'm gonna try and grow them again. I've tried twice before and I never get anything more than like these teeny tiny little Brussels sprout. I've tried taking all of the leaves off, all the different suggestions, and I never got anything that's worthy to be called an actual harvest. So I'm gonna try one more time and we'll see how that goes. But we don't eat like broccoli, cauliflower here much at all. So instead of devoting space in the garden to those things, I'll just purchase them local. And then I've got my green beans. I've got top-notch golden wax bean and the contender bean. So those are my two varieties there. For onions this year, I am going to grow a mix of things. Some are better for storage than others. I know this Red of Florence onion is good for storage. So I'm gonna try that one. I've got the Texas Early Grano, Southport White Globe Bunching Onion, and Cipollini. And then for leeks, I'm only doing one variety. I've grown it before and it does well here, so the American Flag leek. For my pickling cucumbers this year, I am doing the Boston Pickling Cucumber. It's a variety I've done in the past. I've tried a few different varieties and this one is always great. And then I'm also doing some Cucamelons, or the Mexican sour gherkin, again this year as well. We like those as pickles, just fridge pickles. So that's all I'm doing for cucumbers. I am gonna grow some okra this year. My husband really loves fried okra. We all like it. It's just not something we eat a whole lot of. So I'm just gonna grow a few plants this year of the Clemson Spineless. Squash and pumpkins. I am growing butternut squash, Burgess buttercup, Golden Hubbard, Candy Roaster. These are amazing for pies. I love them. Blue Hubbard, Jarradale, Cinderella, Long Island Cheese, Winter Luxury, and Jack B. Little. These will all be for storage, but I'm also growing some for fall decor as well. And these are just a great thing to have in the pantry because they keep so well. They even keep in our really warm house with the cold heat. I haven't had any issues with them going soft on me, so I'm gonna keep growing them for sure. Okay, so those are all of the veggies that I am growing. I have a ton of flowers that I'm not gonna share in today's video because it would take forever, but if you really want to see what flower varieties I'm growing, let me know in the comments and I'll try and put out one of those videos for you. Some perennial items I already have in my garden would be strawberry plants. I think I have 150 strawberry plants right now and I'm planning on purchasing at least 50 more. I have 14 raspberry canes of all different varieties. We have 9 blueberry bushes. I have 32 asparagus crowns out there right now. I actually grew them from seed and planted them out last year, so they'll be on their second year. So I won't be harvesting anything from them yet, but another year we should be able to get some off of those plants. And then we planted an apple tree last year. It was fairly mature. I believe it was 4 years old, so we may or may not get a few apples off of it this year. So we'll have to see what happens there. But other than that and some perennial herbs, that's what is gonna be growing in my garden this year, and a whole bunch of flowers, which I'm super excited about. All right, friend, thank you for coming along with me on this video today. I know it was a bit of a hodgepodge, but that's just my life on any given day. It's a hodgepodge of things. But hopefully it was enjoyable. Maybe you learned a thing or two, gained some inspiration, set some goals for yourself. But I'm excited. I'm excited to bring you all along on this process of growing these things and preserving it and using what I have preserved. So hopefully that's content you are excited about as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you all have a blessed day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.